Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Talha Rafiq,
I'm Badruddin Mohammed.
and this is the College Muslim. So, the College Muslim is a podcast that me and Badruddin started in order to kind of talk about the experience of growing up Muslim in high school and college within the US as well as other non Muslim countries, predominantly non Muslim countries. And so this is episode number 3. There's pretty much nothing else, so hope we get right into it. One thing we would like to mention is, as usual, we are not sheikhs or religious scholars. So everything in our podcast is meant to come from a perspective of experience and kind of what we've gone through to show you that you're not really alone in the experiences that you're going through. And again, so with that, make sure like when you're watching our videos, you understand we're not providing any religious advice. We're not telling you how you should live your life from an Islamic lens. We're more so just showing how we navigated this dunya and hopefully to show you that you're not entirely alone and you're facing the exact same things that we've been facing all our life as well and to this day.
And we'll give you all some coping strategies and how we've come to deal with these things, and you can find if the way we've dealt with things works for you. If not, then you just know that you're not alone. That's the whole point.
Awesome. So today's episode.
Yeah. Today's episode is about it's a nebulous topic, but it's talking about professional achievement, the value of time, climbing that corporate ladder, just all about that.
So basically about what is worth it to us.
Yeah, Deen versus Dunya. Why do we put in the work that we both love to achieve. We both do a lot of things that we have a lot of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we can say that we both have a lot of dreams for our lives. When it comes to things like career wise, when it comes to things like what we want in this dunya, but how do we balance those aspirations, those dreams? How do we balance those aspirations, those dreams, with also making sure that we are at the end of the day we're Muslim.
Yeah.
Like we both have things that we want to do. We want to do in terms of Islam, like making our salah, making our fasting and all that, and also inshallah getting to Jannah one day.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do
Yeah.
in the U.S., especially because you talked about like fasting. That's a
Exactly.
great example. It's like we're supposed to fast during school while finals are
Yeah.
going on, while like some of us might be playing sports, et cetera, et cetera.
Bro.
So there's a whole nother life you have to balance
Yeah.
along with balancing Islam.
Let's start there. Let's start with fasting. So I think that's a great like launch point for us to start off this episode with. So, how did you deal with Ramadan in high school?
Yeah. So obviously we all
Uh-huh.
really love the stuff in this dunya. So I played sports in high school.
Me too.
And so during Ramadan, which at that time I was falling in the summer, I think, or half summer, half school.
Yeah.
It was like near that thing. I think
Yeah.
at least in the beginning, like freshman year of high school
Yeah.
for us. I would have practices throughout the day,
Mhm.
and what I would do is I would go play the sport since it was morning practices, but I
Oh,
wouldn't.
you had morning practice.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
morning practice, so I would still practice, but then the evening practice I wouldn't go to because I just couldn't physically handle that.
Gotcha.
So for me, I ended up still fasting,
Mhm.
but at the cost of losing out that practice,
Yeah.
and also maybe just losing that like starting position or playing on
Yeah.
the field, and that was a sacrifice I had to make, and that's
Oh,
something
yeah.
I always grappled with, like how far, like, can you go if you're prioritizing the deen, and
Yeah.
in high school that was like really hard for me,
Yeah.
and I've come down to realize like how important the deen is, and how important what we
Mhm.
do for the afterlife is, but I think with Ramadan specifically, it was
Mhm.
more the sports problem. I think
Gotcha.
with school, it led to fatigue.
Yeah.
I
For
think
sure.
fatigue was the biggest issue,
Ooh.
and that fatigue makes you want to drink water sometimes.
For sure.
So it was very difficult, and I think that was my main issue when trying to balance Ramadan with school.
Mm-hmm. Ramadan for me, I played sports as well, but we didn't have morning practice, so I got out of that.
Yeah,
We had evening practices. Since I didn't have morning practice, I'd pray Fajr, go to sleep for a couple hours, as many hours as you can squeeze out in that morning, and then I'd go to school. It'd get hard when it came to around exam time, like whenever we'd have like big tests or things, and that's like I think my first experience that I vividly remember with balancing Deen and Dunya. When it comes to like, do I fast or do I study for this exam and have the full energy to do it? Because also, personally, like my grades in high school, like I had to work really hard for those. Like it was always up and down. Like you can ask my mom. My grades always
Yeah.
went up and down and up and down. So every test mattered. Every test for me, like getting, especially math. Math was like the one subject where I struggled a lot. So studying for that math test, making sure that, like, okay, I need to wake up at 6, not even 6, what is it, 5?
yeah,
It's 5, right? Yeah.
It was
So
like
you,
5 at the time.
yeah. So I would wake up at 5, eat suhoor, pray Fajr, go to sleep, and then wake up and then go to my test. And then the whole week before that, I'm still fasting, right? So I'm still fasting and studying at the same time. And as you probably know, like once you fast and then nighttime rolls around, and then there's always that thing that I go through. It's like, oh, I'll do it after I break my fast. I'll study after I break my fast. That's a dangerous game you play with yourself.
Yeah.
So after that, and then I just be like, maybe I just don't fast tomorrow and I'll make it up later. So I can definitely say that I skipped a couple of fasts back then, and I made them up later because of exams, especially AP tests too.
Yeah. Testing. I think testing. Most students who are in high school and college, when it comes to Ramadan, at least like right now, because of the way the cycle of like the calendar's working, I think testing and school is probably the biggest issue.
For real. And especially this year too. Like Ramadan is coming up right around finals time.
Yeah. Did you feel anything when like all your friends were eating and you weren't? Because I don't know how mine was, but like, I heard it, like some people feel something.
I have a really big story about that. I think the big thing is like, okay, so back in like middle school and like early high school, the end of the summer is when you get all the good stuff. Like when teachers start bringing all the good stuff in, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They bring all the candy, they bring all the donuts. Everyone's just like, it's end of the year, let's celebrate, let's have a party, class party. Couldn't eat anything. And I mean, I'll admit it. Like I love food. I have a big sweet tooth. So when people are bringing stuff in for class, I'd be like, hey, I want to eat too. I want to join in.
Yeah.
Have the class party.
It's a mental thing to deal with too.
For real.
Yeah. So like, okay, so let's transition away from fasting. So fasting was like a great entry into it, but how do we apply that on a bigger scale? So like, example, testing or other things in the world that bring us material progress. Okay. What degree do you go to for those things, and when do you stop? Like when do you say like, hey, that achievement, that grade,
where do you draw
that
the line?
money, that's not worth it. Like that line is drawn. I'm not gonna go past that. How did you like realistically set that? Like it was a difficulty for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like setting those things are so like appealing. You know, like I really want that job. I really want that money. Even right now, even more importantly, I really want that job. But where's the line drawn? When do you stop doing certain things? And this is something we talked about in our first podcast.
For real, yeah.
So when is that line drawn? How do you draw that line?
That's a hard question. I think the line gets blurrier, like not maybe personally even for me, but I'm just saying like in general, like the line keeps getting blurrier as we move forward, as the years pass by. Like where do you draw the line of like, hey, like I can't do this. I need to go pray. I need to go do this. I think like Jummah prayer, that's one. In high school, we like sometimes some of us got together, sometimes some of us didn't get together, and we just give Jummah prayer, or even prayer in general. Just like you go through the school day, but like you don't always have that cognizance in your mind of like right now it's prayer, I gotta go pray.
But it's not that easy, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
school
not.
Doesn't let
it's
you.
not.
It doesn't
School
leave
doesn't
you
let
time
you play.
to pray.
Yeah,
right.
Like compared to college right now, like we have a prayer room. I can take time out between classes. I can go pray.
Yeah.
I can block that out. High school, it's like everything's already so structured. There's no like individual time for you to go do what you need to do.
Yeah, like me and you both don't. I mean, I don't know about your Friday classes, but like on my Friday, I try not to have class during Jummah time.
Yeah.
And like we can have that flexibility to structure for Jummah, but that's like lunchtime / period 5 when you're in middle or high school.
Yeah.
So like it's not really structured for us. So.
And the structure just doesn't allow you to have that flexibility. Like high school, I remember had no flexibility. You go to this class, you sit in that class for this amount of time. You can have a bathroom break for like 10 minutes, if the teacher is nice enough to do that. Like some teachers were just really mean. Yeah. And then you have your like 5-minute passing period. You go to the next class. Where do you pray? Like where do you get the time for yourself to just say, hey, I need to go pray? Like that's not a thing that's like common, you know?
That's one thing. Okay, I saw it on LinkedIn actually.
Yeah.
But there was a employee who asked his boss for like prayer, like you need to go pray. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we have this room with the Janmas set up on it. Okay. And they could just pray, like not like the prayer mat, but like they could just put your Janmas in there. So like I'm very heavily considering like what would have happened if I asked my teacher, hey, I need 4 minutes or 5 minutes to pray in your class at this time on like a daily basis.
I can answer that for you.
Did you ask?
We asked.
Whoa. What did you get?
Okay. I didn't ask during class. It was lunchtime though. So
okay.
Not that crazy.
So you asked for a space to pray during lunchtime.
So we had this one teacher who was married to this Pakistani Muslim guy. So she would let us pray during that time. But then after, I think during my like senior, junior year, they stopped like letting teachers have students in their classrooms during that. So we asked the vice principal. He gave us a room. But like even then, I think not even just having the room, but like also like for Jummah prayer, you need at least 3 people. Yeah. For it to be Jummah prayer, right? Sure. And you need to have a khutbah to be given and everything. So sometimes there just be no one. That's the second obstacle you encourage. Like when it comes to Jummah prayer, like where do you find the people to have congregation with you?
But let me get this straight. They still
Yeah.
gave you a room.
They gave me a room. They gave me a room.
Okay. And they gave you like
yeah.
she gave you okay, but you never asked for okay. So lunchtime I can understand. That's still your time.
Yeah.
But I mean, first of all, that's crazy because I never
Yeah.
asked. Like
You never asked?
I never asked. I never thought they would let me.
Really? Did you have Muslim kids in your school?
There were 3.
You three just band together and ask?
I mean, we could have, but like
Yeah.
the most of the prayers, I don't know. Like
No, yeah, I get you.
I thought we sometimes prayed like during
Is
lunchtime.
this 3 including your brother?
This is 3 including my brother.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, actually 4.
Okay.
4. So 2. Yeah. So 3 not including my brother.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, there were not that many. It was
Mm.
a little rough.
I mean, honestly, it's similar for me. We had like 5 total, and then one of them graduated a year in, another one graduated another year in.
Yeah.
Just left with like the 3 of us.
So what do you think would happen if you asked a teacher like because for example Asr prayer doesn't fall during lunch.
Doesn't. That was also another thing.
So Asr prayer falls during your class or maybe if you have a recess or like some kind of like break.
We never got
That's
that.
the only way that it would fall in that time period. But for us we didn't have that.
We didn't have that either. Yeah.
So like asking if you could take it during class for 5 minutes.
I think that's something that hindsight I could have.
But do you think that's what do you think should our culture be that students should be asking that? Because that is like Deen over Dunya again. It's like, do you want to sit in class for 5 minutes or do you want to have the courage to ask your teacher, hey, I need 5 minutes to pray? Like, and is that I don't think that's a culture we like. I never asked. 'Cause I never even popped in my head. I'm like, my class is during that time.
I think it speaks volumes to like the way we feel like as students in society in a non-Muslim American or UK or wherever you all are watching from. Like in a Western society, it's the way that like you and I feel when it comes to like school. Like school feels like such like I'm in high school right now, so I have no liberty. I have no flexibility. Like I am Muslim. I believe. I go home. I pray. I do this at home. It's always everything's at home.
But my school dictates what I do.
My school dictates what I do here. Honestly, it got to a point where I was like, my life at school is different from my life at home. You ever see those movies where they like travel through a portal and like, it's like 2 different lives, 2 different dimensions? That's how it felt. Like if I'm being completely honest, that's how it felt for me.
Because Islam wasn't a part of your school life.
Islam wasn't part of school life.
Yeah.
Like there was no point in school. I mean, maybe if I had a really big test that day, I was like, oh, Allah, please, like, let me help pass this test. Rabbi zidni ilma, like things like that. But other than that, it's like there's nothing in school that makes you think of Islam.
Yeah. But
That's
do you think
thing.
I mean, that's a culture thing too.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need to start fostering kind of culture where, our kids would go and ask the teacher, hey, I have a prayer during this time.
Yeah.
Would you let me like leave for 5 minutes and go pray and then come back?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we just be given the mindset of like they're never gonna let us happen, and we should never ask.
I think that's where I think that's the issue that we need to teach the future generations. Is that you can always. I think it's something my parents tried to teach me, but I'm stubborn, so I didn't listen.
Yeah.
But they were always like, "This is America. You get what you ask for.
Yeah.
You get what you ask for. If you ask for it, like, okay." And another thing is like, this isn't like Islam. It's just like life in general. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
So
They're not gonna slap you or something.
Exactly.
Like they're just gonna say like, no, you can't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, looking back, I don't know why I just didn't ask. Why didn't I just say like I mean, obviously it depends on what class it was, but like 5th period, like you said, I could have just been like, hey, teacher, I need like 5 minutes to go pray. She would have been like, fine, like that freedom of religion,
Yeah. But again, it comes back to letting school run our life, letting that job run our life, letting like the dunya take precedence over Islam. Like just because you're working a job doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're not Muslim.
Yeah.
You have to like.
I think that's a good transition into talking about where does Islam fit into our whole life. Because in school, it was so easy. It's easy to separate. This is school. This is home. I'm still Muslim at home. I'm Muslim at school, but I don't have the option to do things. Versus when you're an adult. Versus when we're in college right now, we have the option to do things that are. We have the option to pray. We have the option to read Quran when we want. We can block out that time. How do you deal with balancing that? Because it is a balance. It is a balance. You have to balance your classes. You have to balance your future goals, your future career. And to balance, I still need to pray 5 times a day. Still need to keep reading Quran. I still need to keep doing everything that I want to be doing. I still have to keep my connection to Allah.
Yeah.
How do you do that? What goes through your head?
So I think, okay, so in high school, it was more important. We talked about from a practical sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like more reasonable for high schoolers, middle schoolers, and honestly, kids underneath that are still learning. So it's like I don't even say anything about them. But middle and high school,
like under that age, like it's not even obligatory for you to pray. So they're still learning.
So when it comes to high school and middle school, obviously practical, like okay, 5 prayers, just that.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you kind of have to instigate, like not instigate, like insinuate at the beginning of their stages.
Ingrain. Yeah.
Now we're in college, okay? So now like we had the flexibility to do the practical stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think the first step is moving your classes around, trying to figure
Yeah.
out the best schedule. I have enough gaps between my classes.
Same.
Even my closest gap is like 25 minutes, and that
Mhm.
allows me to do a prayer asar.
Gotcha.
So like that was my first step.
Yeah.
The practical stuff, figure all that out.
Yeah.
But then it becomes, as you get older, more important to figure out the non-practical
Yeah.
stuff, like your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala,
The mental.
the mental stuff. Like, okay, sure, you practically made time to read the Quran,
Yeah.
but now, because of all the other life stresses and stuff you're going through, when you're reading the Quran, are you going to be still thinking about that job or that money? And
Yeah.
also, will you just not read the Quran because you have a little bit extra work, or will you at least block 10, 15 minutes out to read through your favorite surahs or something?
Yeah.
So, balancing that, Google Calendar. That's
Google
my
Calendar.
Google Calendar. But no, I mean, that's legitimately my tool to balance the practical stuff.
I agree with you. Yeah,
But
me
I think
too.
on a mental level, like, I should definitely work on it more. Like, I think I prioritize, like, for example, money a little bit too much. That's my general thing. Is like,
Gotcha.
because I think, like, when you're majoring, why are we majoring in the majors we're doing? It's because
Yeah.
we either are passionate about it, we love it, or it's something that's
Money.
money. It's gonna, like, that's the reality of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to admit.
Money makes the
because-
world go around. We can't. I think as Muslims, it is also important for us to be practical. That's
Mhm.
also something I have to remind myself. Like yes, I am Muslim. I have ideals. I have principles that I believe in. But Islam is not an impractical religion.
Yeah.
So I still have to make money. I still these are things that go through my head. I still need to make money. I still need to be able to support, inshallah, family if I have one day. If Allah has written that for me. I'll need to support my parents. I'll need to support my siblings if they ever need something from me. Like I don't think we've gone over this, but like I'm the oldest child in my family, so
Yeah.
I feel the responsibility of having to take care of my family. So the reasons why I study, the reasons why I do what I do, it is to make money. Money solves problems. Money might not buy you happiness, but it does solve problems, and life has problems.
And there's no reason to be arrogant about it.
There's no
'cause
reason to be arrogant about, but there's no reason also to shy away from that topic. I think a lot of
Oh, not arrogant.
Islam-
Sorry, ignorant.
No, yeah, ignorant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you
for
can't
sure.
be ignorant of that, and Islam says not to be ignorant of
Yeah,
stuff
of
around
course.
you. So
Of course.
yeah, so money, for example, makes the world
Yeah.
go around. So how much, like I think especially majoring in computer science, my day to day is more about when am I going to start working at Microsoft or Amazon or these
Yeah.
companies, blah blah blah, and I feel like that's where Deen and Dunya really has to, like, you have to start thinking about it,
Yes.
because you can think about Deen and Dunya from a practical lens, okay,
Mhm.
pray and classroom at the same time, but now Deen and Dunya is at the next mental level is, what is on my mind,
Yeah.
and what am I thinking about, and what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I promise you right now, if money is on your mind all the time, you're gonna go insane, and you're not
Yes.
gonna have a great life. If
More money, more
job,
problems.
yeah, more money, more problems. If it's the job that you want, or if it's like the internship or blah blah
Yeah.
whatever. Like if that's on your mind all the time, then the Deen over Dunya argument is like how much you
Yeah.
prioritize the Dunya is this high.
And I'll say one thing here too. Like I've personally dealt with that. Like I've dealt with being consumed by my responsibilities, by my classes, by my extracurriculars, by everything. So obviously you're computer science. I'm trying to be pre-med. So like my mind's always on what's next. What's the next thing I need to achieve? What's the next thing I need to do? Even if it's just the next assignment that I need to do. And the danger in that comes when you're reading Salah or when you're reading Quran. There's no khushu anymore. There's
Not
no
about the now.
concentration. I mean that, like, back in high school, and this was definitely a problem for me back in high school too. Like I'd be reading Salah and I'll have khushu. I'm in Salah. I know I have a connection to God, but somewhere in the back of the head, the shaitan's there. Shaitan's there
Yeah.
telling you, hey, assignment this is due tonight. Assignment this is due tomorrow day. This is what you need to do with your for this team. This is what you need to do for that team. And I feel like in college I've become more cognizant of it, but it's still something that I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to how do I quiet shaitan back there? Like because Salah is all about khushu. It's all about khushu means like the concentration, the connection that you have in Salah. Like Salah is supposed to be a time when your mind is filled with nothing but what you're doing, on what you're reading, the verses that you're reading. Every time you say Allahu Akbar and go into a different position, like you should understand that, like what does it mean when I say Allahu Akbar? What does it mean when I'm going in this position? Like, am I cognizant of doing what I'm doing? And it goes back to our last episode of awareness. Go ahead and go back and watch that episode too. Just being aware. And I feel like when you, like you said, when you over consumed with what's my next assignment, what's my next obligation to do, what do I have to do, these things bleed in. These things encompass your life. You can't, like, honestly, I think that I can keep it separate, but I can't. I really can't keep it separate. Like life is, your mind is only one. There's no split to your mind. I always think that I can compartmentalize it. We hear all about like military people compartmentalizing, or like people go through trauma compartmentalizing. Compartmentalization, I mean, maybe it does exist on a certain extent, but when it comes to things like Deen versus Dunya, there's a compartmentalization. Your Deen and your Dunya, they are linked.
So do you know like one of the so do you want to know one of the coping mechanisms I
Yeah.
use?
Go ahead.
So on a day-to-day basis, in order to balance like Deen and Dunya,
Yeah.
what's more important, and
Okay.
transition between the Deen and Dunya,
Uh huh.
because you should always have the Deen on your mind,
Yeah.
but you need to pay attention around what's going around you too.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is right before prayer when we're making wudu,
Yeah.
I use like wudu to like cleanse my mind too. So when I'm making like when I'm washing my hands, I'm like everything that you touch today is washing off your hands. And when I'm cleaning my mouth out, I'm like everything you ate today is going to wash out of your mouth. When I wash my face, and I'm like everything in your brain, in your head, when you're here, everything is leaving. And I step out of the restroom, I'm like, what was I thinking about again? Like what's on my mind? Nothing about the dunya. It's all about the deen. And I walk into that prayer room and I pray. And then I leave the prayer room and I get depressed again about school. But like, you know,
Wait, no, subhanallah.
that is genuinely one of my favorite coping
I'm
mechanisms.
gonna use that. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I'm not kidding. Look in the mirror, and as you're making wudu,
Yeah.
I mean, you open with intention to make wudu and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But when you're making wudu and you're actually making, look at yourself in the mirror, and as you see the water like just like wash past you,
Yeah.
that is the moment you're washing everything from the dunya away, because you're about
Wow.
to step into Allah's home, His like Allah Subhanahu wa Taala's palace and home. Like that's what you're stepping into. You're not stepping into like your next class. So why carry anything from your last class into that? And then the matter of like, I mean, I think that's the first step.
Yeah.
Then you can worry about like and this is an ongoing thing. Like this
Yeah.
is like not something I'm good at all. But then it comes to like how to keep that like concern of like always being aware of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. But the first step is, at least when you're trying to prioritize your deen, just focus on your deen. Don't focus on anything else. But that's one of my methods.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna steal that wudu method from you. That's gold.
It's practical though.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just understanding that like wudu isn't just like cleansing of like your body, but it's also the cleansing of like your mind and your soul during that thing.
Mhm.
And
That's what wudu is. Like
that
if
is what
you,
wudu is.
yeah, if
Yeah,
you look at like
exactly.
actually what wudu, like why we're told to do it,
yeah,
it's like the cleansing of the mind, body, and soul.
yeah,
So it's like people just kind of assume like, I mean, come on, like let's
Yeah.
be real. When you do wudu, how much like you're not actually like cleansing like of your body, like right?
Yeah.
Like if you have like if you're dusty and you've been working out
Yeah.
all day, you're sweating, like you're
I
not
don't know.
gonna.
We're students. We're not like working like unless you went to like the gym or something. You're not like there's no like dirt on your hands or anything.
Yeah,
honestly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like so, you're not cleansing away too much from the physical perspective. It's more about the intention you're making, and I feel like too we make wudu a little bit too like about the
Yeah.
physical thing,
Yeah.
but the actions are just resembling about what is from the soul.
Yeah.
And a lot of people actually do the soul part really well. They feel the cleanse of their soul, but I don't think they're cleansing their mind. So that was my issue, because I
Gotcha.
got to the soul part and I'm like, I need to start cleansing my mind.
Yeah.
And so the way I do that is that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean it also makes sense that like before people take shahada too, they need
Yeah.
to like do a ghusl, and like
Mhm.
wudu is part of ghusl, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so right now we're in college. We're doing with stuff with Deen and Dunya that is in college. What about the Deen and Dunya argument when it comes to post college? So the job stuff,
Career aspirations.
career aspirations. How important is that achievement for what you're about to do?
So
And for high schoolers,
yeah,
this
go
is about For high
No.
schoolers, this is about how important is that college admission, or how important is that, because that's
Uh,
their career for them. You could talk about that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
reason why I'm laughing is I had a very interesting college application process. You can go check out my videos on YouTube for that. But
I'll link his channel like right here somewhere right now. You can watch his channel. Like he's got his own thing.
I applied to a lot of colleges. Go check out my channel to know exactly how many. But I mean, honestly, this was during COVID, so let's preface with that. I wasn't going anywhere. I was just with my family. I wasn't like talking to like other people like from my school or anything. So I was just at home. I applied to a lot of colleges. I think I definitely gave it more power over me than it should have had. I can definitely say that. I think one of the ways I justify both college and also career aspirations, the way I justify it to myself is I'm doing this because so I can get a good job, so I can have the time to do ibadah to Allah in the future. And that's a very dangerous argument.
It's an interesting argument.
I completely accept that. Like that's the argument that I try to make to myself to justify everything that I do, and it's I don't think it's a valid argument. I don't think any scholar would completely agree that that's a completely valid argument to make with yourself either. Because
You might not even be here tomorrow.
Exactly.
Why play off?
exactly.
Like, what is the reason of saying, hey, I'm gonna do the physical deen stuff? I mean, sorry, the physical
Yeah.
dunya stuff right now, so that I
Yeah.
can be better on my deen later.
Yeah,
There is no
the
later.
whole like even apart from Islam, like you hear so many quotes of people that like about the idea of tomorrow.
Mhm.
Just saying tomorrow, like in the business or productivity world, you hear the idea of I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it tomorrow. But coupling that with Islam, it's like you never know when you're gonna die.
Mm.
That's a very harrowing thought. for me, like whenever I hear that, because I'll be making this argument, but the next time I hear that from like a scholar or wherever I'm listening to it, that brings me back. It grounds me. Rather than like, I could die right this minute. If Allah has written that could happen. You never know. And I'm sorry to get all depressing on y'all, but like honestly, you never know what's gonna happen. So making that argument to yourself that I'm doing this for now, so I can have future time later to do ibadah, it's a fraud argument. But coming back to college, I think giving those things power over you, so back in college, I really wanted to get into a good college. Like I said, I'm the oldest of 3, so the oldest child. I always have this thing in my mind where I want to achieve high, so that my brothers can achieve higher than I ever could. That's the argument I try to make from that. That's the thought process. Not even the argument. That's just the thought process that goes through my head. That's the reason why I do what I do. But I think also there needs to be a line that I need to draw with myself where it's like, yes, I need to achieve high, so my brothers can achieve more and my family can achieve more. But I'm still a Muslim. I still have responsibilities to Allah, to my body, to the whole idea of Islam, and understand that like the reason why we're on this world, this is what grounds me every time. Realizing the reason of why we're on this world. We're not on this world to make money. I'm not on this world to become a doctor. I'm on this world to earn hasanat, to get to Jannah. This world is just the way it's described in Hadith is like it's on a journey. This is just like the journey part of it. This isn't even a destination. I feel like too much like even I'm guilty of it too. Like I'll think, okay, like once I get to medical school and once I'm done with a residency and I'm attending, that's my destination. Like, I'll have my family, I'll have my life, I'll be making my money, I'll be good.
And then I'll worry about my deen.
Yeah. Like I like, and then I think, okay, maybe that's when I enroll in a seminary program to like become like a scholar or something, or maybe that's when I start becoming a hafiz, because then I have the time. But that's such a I feel like this is an argument we all make to ourselves.
So I mean, then you have to realize that okay, so there is a trade-off. Like currently, there's a trade-off of me moving my class away from Jummah prayer to prayer. Yeah. I think what we don't get across is that, like, what I never understood was that if you make a trade-off, it doesn't mean you can perform equally as good on the professional thing. Yeah. If you're gonna, so I think this is something everyone has to realize. If you're gonna prioritize the deen, you might not do so well in the professional thing. Yeah. And you have to realize that, like, if you're actually
a tough pill to swallow.
It is a tough pill to swallow. Everyone wants to be the best doctor. Yes. Everyone wants to be best in school. Everyone wants to be the best athlete. Everyone wants to be the best, student in his like Jummah prayer class, whatever class is happening at that time. Yeah. I don't think it's possible.
No, I 100% agree with you. Yeah. It comes down to realizing what's important to you. What is important to you? Yeah. At the end of the day, like when you are on your deathbed, what will you like care about? Will you care about the fact that like say I wake up for Fajr, say I try to wake up for Fajr every day, and I wake up for Fajr, I wake up for Tahajjud, I read Quran, and I inshallah like this is something that I was listening to a class or Tarbiyah cohort a couple of weeks ago, and it's this idea that like we should all have the intention to memorize the Quran at some point in our life. That even if we don't do it, that's the intention we should have. And that to me that hit me, because I realized that like I always say, okay, I'm learning Quran right now, but if it's okay if I don't become a hafiz. That's not the intention any of us should have. That the intention that I should have is that I will become a hafiz at some point, and I will try my best, and inshallah if Allah has written it for me, it will happen. But I am working every day towards it.
And you work every day towards it.
And you work every day towards it. But what I'm coming back at is that on my deathbed, if I memorize the Quran versus if I become the best doctor in the world, which one is going to be more important to me?
Quran.
Exactly.
And who's going to remember you being the best doctor in the world? Like stuff like that dies out over time, right? Yeah. Like not even
over time. Like literally, the day after you die, there's going to be a new doctor in your place,
and he will be the next new doctor. Exactly. The best doctor.
Exactly.
But that placement thing doesn't happen in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's count. Yeah. Like in his, like that is not how it works with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
It's really not.
Everyone is on their own, in their own playing field, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, coming back to the school thing. Okay, so there's no way to like do more, like the professional thing as good as you can on the deen.
100%.
So how do you wrap your mind around, hey, it's okay if I am not the best in class? Like, hey, it's okay, because this comes back to missing 5 minutes for prayer in class. Hey, it's okay I missed those 5 minutes. I will catch up on it by spending 15 minutes later. But for those 5 minutes, I'm going to give it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man. Like, I mean, I haven't figured this out.
I don't have an answer either.
Yeah, I haven't figured this out. Like, I legit am kind of sometimes lost as like...
I'll tell you my thought process though. Like whenever I hear that, I think a really easy one. Okay, the really easy one for me to start out with is fasting versus taking that test and doing well on it.
Ooh.
So
You're right.
that was my first experience with it. That was always my first experience, and this was since middle school. Because I mean, I started doing Ramadan at a very young age just because I wanted to, and I thought
sure.
I thought you think it's fun,
Especially like if your family's Muslim, like, it's not
Alhamdulillah,
surprising.
yeah. No, I'm 100% like Alhamdulillah. I'm glad I was brought up in a family that encouraged that.
Mhm.
So, but then when it came to middle school, and I wanted to fast, and around when you're 13, like when you hit puberty is when it's required on you to fast. So, I was fasting, and then my I think it was algebra test would come up, and I'd be like, well, don't I need to pass this algebra class to get into the next level of math class for next year? Like, do I need to do well? Okay, all right. I will eat breakfast this morning, get a good night's sleep, go to my exam, and then I was like, okay, this is just for high school. Like, I'm not a fully functioning adult yet. I'm still a child-ish,
Sure.
even though you're not. Like, it's still obligatory for you to fast. But I don't have an answer. Like, I think I can tell you what I do wrong, and maybe y'all can try to avoid this. But what I do wrong is, once again, I was telling myself, I'll do it once I'm at the next stage in my life.
Yeah, you can make, for example, you can make up your the days you missed when you're fasting for Ramadan.
Yeah.
If there's a valid reason for
there's a valid reason, exactly.
You're allowed to make it up.
Yeah.
So it's like if people get in the habit of like, oh, I'll just do it later.
Yeah.
I'll make it up later.
Yeah.
Right.
But not even that. I'll tell myself, okay, I can't fast all 30 days this year because I'm still a kid. I'm still figuring out how to balance school. I'm still figuring out, like, this back in like high school. I'm still figuring it out. Like, I need this time to do it. Then okay, when I'm in college, I'll fast all 30 days.
But life just gets busier.
Yeah. I think that's something we don't realize at whatever stage we're at in life.
Mm-hmm.
We don't realize that, like, as life goes on, it gets busier. It doesn't get easier.
Nope.
I mean, I can tell you right now. Like, right now, I think that when I'm an adult, I'm gonna have more time because I'll be my own
You'll
boss.
be making money and you'll do stuff.
Money.
Yeah.
Every adult will prove me wrong.
And if you don't train yourself, actually, if things do get easier later on, but if you don't train yourself now to do those kind of things during the hard times,
exactly.
What makes you think you're gonna spend the good times doing that? You might end up spending the good times doing stuff that's more like enjoyable in your eyes, because you started prioritizing the material world about like the accomplishments and the stuff. But guess what? You can, me and you, as college or some kids who are watching this as high schoolers could be doing a better job with their deen, than some older adults. And why? Just because they're trying to put in the effort now to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's not really about what stage or what time you're doing it at, about like the time that's available. It's about like, when are you making the effort? Is when things are hard or when things are easy. Yeah. If you're making the effort when things are easy, like, first of all, mashallah, I'm really happy for you. Like, thank God you're in that position. Yes. But if you're trying to make the effort when times are hard, and I will consider, like, yes, you have to restructure your classes to make that prayer. That's a big thing. Yeah. In a society that doesn't create that for you, if you're doing that for yourself, like,
inshallah, Allah will.
Yeah. Hold up. Stay there. All right. So we cut out there for a second, but we're back. So we're just gonna pick
camera
up.
Failed a little bit on.
Camera failed a
little
little
bit. It's all right. We're back though.
So just back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
When times are easy, and if you're trying to make in the effort, then like, good. I'm happy for you. That's a great position to be in. But when times are hard and you're making that effort, even if you have to move around those classes, like, first of all, the barakah in that is so much more. Yeah. Like, just you trying to make that effort to do those things is great. And at that stage, you don't have to worry about, will I be able to focus in that moment? First, make yourself have the option to like go and do that. So like, say we make the option to pray. Move that class around, go and pray during that time, and then work on how to focus better in that prayer. Yes. So like, also on your thing, like,
getting that khushu and then getting that sincerity in our prayer and realizing that, like, well, like, just like you said, like, when you're in that deen state, clear your mind. Yeah. Clear your mind of the day. Try as best as you can. Yes, there will still be bleed in because like, your brain is still one, but try your best. But yeah.
Yeah, that's literally something I deal with. So like, letting that bleed in happen. So okay, I'm majoring in computer science. Yeah. Let's
talk a little bit about that. Okay, so we talked a lot about like medicine and like all like the time versus trade-off.
Later in time, money. Yeah.
Computer science. There's a lot of stipulations in that. Let's talk about that.
So it's different, first of all. Yeah. So it's like, I do have more time when I'm actually even studying. Like, engineering is hard, computer science is hard. Yeah. But the cool thing about computer science is 4 years of education, and then you can be in the workforce, and you could be making good enough money where you don't have to be working all the time. Exactly. But I think the one thing in computer science that got in my brain was how much money you can make. Yes. For doctors, it's like, I'm gonna work till that. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna work till that point. I'm gonna make some good money, but it's more like,
there's a cap. There's a beginning and a stage. Which is computer science. There's no cap.
Yeah. The richest men in the world.
You can try. There's no end to the ladder.
Yeah, and that's a very dangerous thing. And it's climbing. Like, more and more CEOs are becoming are engineers
Yeah.
becoming CEOs,
For real.
especially top 100 companies.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, it used to be business people, but now it's CEOs who are engineers. So for me, I think one of the things I've faced, and a lot of people I think face with computer science, is when you realize, you can have enough money and you'll have time.
Yeah.
But if you put in an extra hour, you might make twice as much as we make. If you put in an extra 5 hours, you might make millions on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So it's like when that is the reality of what your work is, and you know that it's not that difficult. Like yes, it's hard,
Yes.
but the chances of a engineer,
Especially when you're young, like
Yeah.
your brain still has the plasticity to like learn more, get
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
there's like software engineers, people who work like 100 hours a week,
Yeah.
and they're making a lot, and they're like 24, 25.
Let's talk about that. 100 hours a week.
Yeah,
Let's talk about
See,
that.
that's where I was getting into.
Yeah.
I can work 100 hours a week.
You can.
I can make $1 million as a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Does that leave time for
Do
others?
you though?
Do I right now, or do I like
No,
want to
no.
do that?
But okay, even right now,
Or
or
do you
even then,
choose to do that?
do you choose to do that? Do you work that 100 hours a week? Like that's the decision everyone has to make.
On a personal note, if I had the ability to work 100 hours a week as a computer scientist and make like millions of dollars
Yeah.
at this stage, I would want to throw myself at that
Yeah.
because
it's tempting.
because it's tempting, and because we all want that internship, we all want that
Yeah.
job. Especially in computer science, especially in like that realm of field, the more I work, the more money I make. It's
Yeah.
directly translated.
And you can save that money up, and then once again the future argument comes up. Like I can
Yeah.
use this money to have more time in the future to do bad that like
Yeah.
in the future.
And it's different from school, because with school, like when I'm going through my CS classes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to work on this anymore. I'll close it. But I have a job right now. I have two
Yeah.
jobs right now that deal with computer science.
Nice.
Both of those jobs, I low-key want to work the extra hour. I'm like, I enjoy this. I'll make another $35. Like, hey, let
Exactly.
me just do this one more time. Like, and it multiplies how much money I make throughout a week.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So I think within like, at least you talked about medicine within
Yeah.
computer science, it's not a matter of, it's a matter of setting that boundary.
Yeah.
Where is that line drawn as to how much I'm going to shoot for that achievement, how much money I'm shooting for,
Mm-hmm.
compared to like how much time you're going to make for the Deen. And I think in that case, it's more of a saying no thing.
Saying no.
Saying no. You have to learn how to say no to that extra hour.
I
2
think that's a
hours.
good point. We can.
There will always be work for you.
Yeah.
And guess what? The work you're doing is not going to stop at the end of your day or at the end of your
Yes.
life. That computer science work is going to go on for the rest of humanity.
Forever.
That is the thing. You're just a cog in a machine.
Yeah.
Understand that. But within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's machine, you're not a cog.
You're not a cog.
You
We are
his
the most valued of creation, and
You are his
Allah subhanahu wa
creation.
ta'ala has so much love for us. So the more we work and the more we put in the effort and into our ibadah, into getting salah that has good khushu and not letting dunya plague us during our salah or in our Quran, Allah has so much more appreciation than your boss ever will. Your
Yeah.
boss will never have. Your boss will never get close to the amount of
Mm-hmm.
appreciation that Allah will have for you and the amount of love Allah will have for you when you do that, when you are on Siratul Mustaqim, when you do the acts that are good for you and the ibadah that's good for you. Honestly, I think a good place for us to sort of wrap this video up is the idea of saying no. How do you say no?
I think I've come to really good terms with saying no.
Okay.
And it actually relates it relates completely to religion. So
Mhm.
I had like a whole religious thing in the last like
Gotcha.
year and a half where I truly fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to say no through religion, because when I was presented with an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
if it's an opportunity that doesn't fall in line with the religious beliefs or values, it was easy for me to say no. That's the easiest way you can train yourself to
Yeah.
say no. If a company that makes like, weapons or
Yeah.
like for the US Army comes in and says, hey, here's an internship, say no, because you know those weapons are not being used for
Yeah.
good product. And that's the first way you can learn to say no. Say no to things that you know are bad for you. The same way that you say no to
Yeah.
drugs or drinking,
Exactly.
right? Something we talked about in our first video.
Yeah.
But the way to say no to other things, to make time for like
Time.
Isha.
Things that are not haram. How do you say no?
Things
That aren't haram, but that aren't good either.
Yeah. So like, for example, like maybe an extra project that might take 3 hours,
Yeah.
like away from like your Isha prayer.
Yeah.
And I like to make Quran at the end, like a Quran. I like to keep the Quran as a thing I could do at the end of my day
Gotcha.
for about 25 minutes. I've had an opportunity to make a project during that time.
Mhm.
How do you say no to that project? And
Yeah.
the way I've kind of come to reason around that is, this is very cliche,
Okay.
but when you die, you are not taking your money nor that project to the
Uh-huh.
grave. And I promise you, especially in computer science, give it 2 years, someone's going to make a project 10 times better. Yours is going to be
Yeah.
lost in the files.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your prayer and the Quran you read, the time you spend with that,
Mm.
when you die, the rest of eternity
Yes.
is based off that.
Yeah.
What an amazing test is that for us? Like,
For real.
we should be thankful that we
Yeah.
can put in material time for eternity.
Yeah.
Imagine working eternity for material time.
Yeah, I think for me, it's something that I recently came to sort of, I guess, an epiphany. It's a thought process I came to recently, but it's realizing that we all love to climb the ladder, and even in medicine, there's a ladder. There's quote unquote better medical schools that people like to arbitrarily put out there,
Yeah.
or like better specialties or more higher paying specialties that you can work longer for. Like the longer you push your residency, or the longer you push your fellowships and things like that, the more money you can make. But understanding that we love to climb that ladder, but even Allah has a ladder for us to climb, and those are the 7 levels of Jannah.
Yeah.
There, honestly, that it was an epiphany that happened to me, because I realized, okay, I'm working so hard to get better grades in like each of my classes, to get into a better medical school, a better research job, to boost my application. Why do I not have that same zeal for boosting my application to Allah?
Wow.
Because I'm applying to Jannah.
That sends chills down my run, bro.
It sent chills down my whole body,
Oh
bro.
my god.
It was. I'm getting chills right now. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like, why do I not have the same, like, because I'm a very ambitious person. I'll say that right now. I love to climb that ladder, and I'm sure you do too. Like, we're both very ambitious people.
Yeah.
We should have that same ambition, and I'm trying every single day to have the same ambition into the application that I'm giving to Allah, because that application is going to decide the rest of my life,
I agree.
and beyond this life.
I agree.
I think honestly, I guess that's something to leave to
saying
y'all.
no
Yeah,
to the dunya for Deen is not a bad thing,
it's never a bad thing.
and you just explained clearly why it's not a bad thing.
But it's a hard pill to swallow. But inshallah, may Allah help us all get to a point where we are able to understand
Yeah.
that, understand this frame of reference, this principle that we should all have. And both of us are working on it every day, and I'm sure you all are working on it every day. And alhamdulillah, we are all working towards every day, and inshallah, one day we'll get there.
Yeah. Honestly, if you have any questions on this kind of video, feel free to message us,
Yeah.
because
For sure.
it's something that I think we all deal with, and I
Yeah.
think it's an important topic. I don't know. Might want to do a second video on
I
this.
definitely think we need to do a second video on the things like specific companies, like you talked about, or
Yeah.
specific things like that. Because
Yeah.
we talked about time today, but there's more about this we can talk
this.
about, especially like the ladder and everything. So
Yeah.
inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right. Jazakallah khair for tuning in today. We appreciate y'all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So.